Okay, that last video was just too long, so I'm going to get to the points more quickly. First of all, part of the reason that I haven't been making as many videos, because I know sometimes I make a lot of videos, like a bunch in a week, and then other times I like go weeks without making any videos. Part of the reason for me not doing so many as I have in times past is I'm actually working with Kevin and a couple of his friends on their show called Verse T, which is it's a gay talk show, and it's really cool. Y'all should check it out at VERSTEA. Pretty cool name, right? Verse T. Wow. I'm not on it, but I'm working behind the camera and doing other stuff with it. Anyway, check it out, Verse T. So, what I wanted to talk about today, and I'll get to this point a little more quickly. I deal with ED. Oh, this video is not for kids. Sorry. I deal with ED, which is erectile dysfunction. And at first, I thought it was related to my whole MS thing, and I was just like, oh, crap. Well, I guess. Oh, well. But then Men's Health released an article that I thought was really interesting, and I wanted to share this with y'all because it might help somebody. Porn is becoming much more hardcore nowadays. Like, it's very hardcore. And, like, porn stars like Ricky Barker from the 90s or maybe even early 2000s. I don't know. I think more like 90s. But even he probably at the time was like, I'm doing some pretty darn extreme cutting edge stuff. But the people nowadays, Ricky Parker doesn't even hold a candle to them because the porn is becoming increasingly harder and harder core. And as a result of that, and people's easy access to constant porn, myself included, people constantly watching this porn and masturbating. That's why Men's Health explained that there has been an uptick in people having erectile dysfunction because of their constant consumption of porn while masturbating. And for me, I always was like, well, it's better that I just watch a bunch of porn instead of screwing everything that walks, so to speak. So I was like, well, at least it's keeping me from all of that out there to bring it and to not bring it back in here to me. So it's better that I just not have sex with every. And I told y'all know, from age 19 to 22, I jokingly say back in college I was a thought. I used to be in back in college I used to be a thought, but I'm not no more. Anyway, so that was my joke because from age 23 all the way up to when I met Kevin at 32, I was a prude. I didn't do any sort of sexual activities with any of my boyfriends. I would have boyfriends and we would not have sex. And that's probably part of the reason that those boyfriends wouldn't stick around particularly long. In some cases, I know that was the reason. But, you know, it is what it is. I would still be constantly looking at porn and masturbating regularly. So long story short, I don't get quite as hard as often as I once had before. So for me now at this particular point in time, masturbation is not something that I do or really can do with the frequency that I used to. I used to do it like every single day, if not multiple times a day, and do it looking at porn. And that's what Men's Health says is the problem. The problem isn't just masturbating, but it's the masturbating while looking at this increasingly harder core porn. Like, there's some crazy porn out there, and it's all at your fingertips on Pornhub. And that's what people are doing, and that's what's happening. Anyway, oh gosh, I'm okay. So, there's this dude who I saw on A for A because I actually was able to masturbate to the point of ejaculation yesterday, or yeah. And I started off looking at porn, but then I decided, no, try to just do it with your imagination. Because my imagination, sexual imagination, used to be so vivid. But because of my constant porn consumption, my sexual imagination became very limited. So, at least very limited to the extent that, anyway, I think y'all get where I'm going. Anyway, so this guy, he is. I decided I will masturbate to thoughts of him. And one thing that I found so interesting is that he, in my thoughts of masturbating to him, one of the thoughts that sort of took me over the edge was just thinking about him being protection for me. And I think that's such a really interesting thing to think about. And I think it's so interesting that that is what does it for me when thinking about a guy. Protection. I remember the guy that I dated right after Kevin. I never did a video with him or anything like that because I'm not going to do videos with every single guy that I date. But the guy that I dated after Kevin, briefly, that was one of the things that I talked about with him and part of what turned me on about him. And I know that, like, while we would be laying together or whatever, sometimes he'd be like, see, when I grab you like this, see, they can't get you when I do that. Because he was big, gorgeous, thick, dark chocolate, and he was taller than me, which I love. But he would be like, when I hold you like this, they can't get you. And it's like, who is they? Nobody. But that is something that matters to me because I really like a guy that I can feel safe with. That's what it's all about for me. And I found it so interesting that that was part of my masturbation fantasy. Thinking about this random guy from A for A that I found attractive being like, I've got you. You're protected. You know? That was just so sexy. And he was really handsome too. And I'd really like to think that he cared. Even though he has no idea who I am and hasn't even responded to my message. But oh my gosh, you know, thirsty, desperate, thirsty, party of one, whoop, whoop, whoop. Anyway, talk to y'all later, YouTube. I know this thing's about to cut out probably. Peace, be blessed.